targeted Black landowners. In the early 1900s was the peak of Black land ownership. In the 1910 census, Black folks owned and operated about 14% of U.S. farms, and that was, at a higher percentage than we made up in the population. And so there was a long time throughout history when the most likely occupation you find an African American person would be farming, and now that's the least likely. Many of our people have confused the oppression that took place on land with the land itself. And so there's a lot of ancestral, almost cellular trauma that's associated with wild spaces and with land. The truth is that we do all belong to land, and we have a right, to belong to land and reclaim agency in the food system, but there's a healing process that needs to happen. And part of that is knowing our history. It's not so much that we are stepping into this white good food movement, that this has always been our movement, and that history has done its best job to alienate us from land and to tell us that we don't belong and it's not our story, but it's always been our story. And so it's been important for us to find those anecdotes and evidence of the strength of our people related to land and uplift them. Fannie Lou Hamer's cooperative movement is, now everyone's talking about cooperatives, but that's not new. She was figuring out how to pull money to get kids into college and to buy a new tractor and to pay for people's burial expenses and share land and share barns, a long time ago.
And maintain the plant too.
Yeah, clear the whole, all the lower leaves. So our programming has grown a lot faster than our capacity to manage it. So when we have apprentices here or when we have training groups here, they literally sleep on the floor of our house or camp out, and then when it rains, the camp out people sleep more on the floor of our house. So we are trying to expand our infrastructure so that we don't have to turn anyone away who wants to learn how to farm and work for food justice. So this is our latest project. We did a crowdfunding campaign. We're 2/3 of the way there. Our new apprentices will be moving in April, and that's pretty much when the programming season starts. So we have a few months to make it happen. It's a program space and a sleeping space for folks who come from Black and Latino farmers immersion. We have a program next year for white folks who are interested in undoing racism in the food system. So we have a lot of programs, and there's a need for comfortable, warm, dry space, and so that's what this area is going to serve. We want to be not just environmentally sustainable, but really a model of financial solvency and sustainability and justice as well. So we only do direct marketing to families. We do a farm share program where a family joins. They call it Netflix for vegetables, right? So a family joins at the beginning of the season. They make a commitment to us that they're going to participate for the entire 22 weeks. We make a commitment to them to give a fair share of beautiful, healthy vegetables delivered to their doorstep. We've sort of bound ourselves together in this way that isn't as casual as the capitalist market would have you define economic relationships, where it's like, do I want this or do I return it, and let me go to the next store and shop around. It's really making this commitment to one another as human beings and also to this local economy. And so I think there's a lot that's right in that, and we just have to figure out how to scale it up to first our institution, right, and then also to society as a whole. So this is the east field because it's east of the rest of the property. And we are planting cover crops in a half acre in this field this coming year to prepare it for vegetable production in 2017. So we just plant buckwheat and clover and all of these plants that are alchemists that are able to take air and turn it into soil. They can take nitrogen from the air and carbon from the air and turn it into organic matter. And that feeds and builds up the soil so that the following year it will be ready to plant. So Wendell Berry has this amazing quote. When people ask you what you grow, tell them your main crop is the forest, which you will never harvest. I think it's really important that we see reflections of ourselves in the movements that we're part of. And so I remember in my earlier days of deciding to start a farm, and there wasn't a lot of publicity for the farm. Maybe there was one article that someone had written, today's Black farmer doesn't look like what you think. It's young woman of color, not this older, weathered, Southern Black man. And I got this call from a woman in Boston who I didn't know, just a cold call. And she said she just wanted to hear my voice to know that it was possible. Because she's a Black woman who had encountered a lot of discrimination and obstacles in trying to become a farmer, not just from the white world, but from her own family. Like, how could you do this? Go backwards, essentially, is how it was seen. And she was completely in tears because she just needed to know it was possible. I'm really influenced by my ancestors, including my adopted Hebrew ancestors. So the Talmud teaches us that, not to be overwhelmed by the grief and despair of the world, that we're not obligated to finish the work, right? But we are obligated to always take a step in the direction of completing the work.
While we switch gears, I thought, and Guadalupe is used to my love of getting to know folks in the room. If you wouldn't mind, perhaps you could start and tell folks who you are. And I have a little question, a prompt that we created for this. If you feel comfortable answering this question, or if you just want to say who you are and why you joined us today, that's fine as well. But are there food disparities in the area of town that you currently live in? Because that's one of the reasons I did this. I've always grown up in a food desert. I grew up in West Fresno. I live downtown. I don't ever get to walk to a grocery store. And if I do, it's only for a little while because I know that store won't be there very long. So I just like to maybe get a general consensus in the room, and then we can switch to Freedon School. Would you like to start?
My name is Guadalupe Gutierrez. I've been here a few times for different activities tonight. It was important for me. I've known Reverend Dr. Floyd for a while, and I see all the good he's been doing also with the school, and I see a lot of it on Facebook. He puts a lot on Facebook. But it's important also culturally for us to work together and continue to learn from one another. And I believe that the school is doing a good thing. This program here also. And I'm just glad I'm here tonight. And I want to learn more, and every day we have an opportunity to learn from one another.
My name is Phil Catherine. And basically I met Rev a few years ago, and ever since coming into contact with him and his program and his mission, his vision, I thought I'd try to support it as I'm able, whether it be with my presence or however I can be a part of it. And I look forward to bigger and better things. I'm sure that the Rev has some more in store.
My name is Anna. I came here today. This is my second time in wanting to learn more. Myself and my parents, when we first came here to the United States, we worked in the fields, and as more and more time goes on, what you were saying about, I think it's so important for Black and Latinx people to work together, especially when we're talking about food and food justice. I think it's so important, and so today I just came here to want to learn more and see how I can be a part of this.
Hi, my name is Yami Hunt. I am currently a student attending Freedon School every Saturday, and I'm 13 years old.
14.
I mean 14. 14.
Just had a birthday.
Just had a birthday. Sometimes, you know, it's hard to get used to
I
your
do
new
know.
age.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Cornell. I'm 9 years old, and I'm also a student attending at Freedon School.
My name is Ivanka. These are my boys. This is my husband, Derek. I really like this video, and I think for us, we live in Southwest Fresno, and I grew up in Northern California, so I am originally a farm girl. 20 acres, organic walnuts, but a sustainable system where we raise cattle too on that 20 acres. And so to go from a place for the first part of your life that is so sustainably natural to come to the valley where everything has to be mass produced to feed the rest of the world and see how it's done in so many unsustainable ways. And then to live in the West Side where you don't see enough grocery stores, but then in our own backyard, which is his mother's original home, we still have the groves of her generation of planting. So even though I grew up north and his birthplace is Fresno, the connection is still that part of time when it was okay for African Americans and everyone just went to each other's backyards to get whatever the neighbor wasn't growing at the time, you know. And so to be from two different places, a lot of similarities, yeah, but then completely surrounding us to not have it is really like, it's so black and white, literally, but still just very much, you know what can be, should be, in the way it was possible, and to see that completely depleted is, yeah, something I don't want them to experience. So we're part of Freedom School, and I want them to know that feeling of what it is to feel comfortable with the dirt under your feet. And unfortunately, a lot of our kids just don't even know that that natural piece is the way it should be for everybody.
My name is Gary Hunt. My wife and children. I grew up in Fresno. When I left when I was 16 because I didn't like it here. The racism was too strong for me. But as she was saying, like, my mom had a garden to die for. It's funny because when I was a kid, we weren't living in a food desert. There was Lucky's, there was Gums Market, there was Safeway in the neighborhood. So we had adequate food, and you know, the two-way food stand, and there was another guy that had fresh food all the time. You know, regardless of what was in my own yard and in the neighbor's yard. But I noticed that as I became an early teen, how things started to dilapidate and the disinvestment started taking place, and then how neighbors felt that because they had achieved something, they didn't know what it was, but they moved out into communities that didn't want them there, and they felt that they made it. And then when they got to these communities and realized that they hadn't made it at all because how they were treated. And I used to travel back and forth to the south to see my grandparents, and then down there in Oakland a lot. And I noticed that there, the communities were, Oakland was deprived of certain foods, but there was still a camaraderie of people who migrated from the south, who still had that mindset to where somewhere or another we have to come together and eat. Families got together to eat, and I hadn't witnessed that before outside of being a kid, and I started noticing how this played a part in developing these food deserts as we're going today, and how redlining and different codes were put in certain communities to just allow you to have certain small lifestyle or enough to do certain types of food. And I think that that's a stigma that we need to get over. And I think the stigma of slavery still carries over to where we were forced to work the land for 4,500 years. Now, dare anybody to put me back out there. But I remember as a kid where we used to get up, I grew up in the field with my uncles. They'd get up at like 3 or 4 in the morning and get on a van, go to Los Palos, they would go to Mendota, in other little surrounding places, Rosemead and Rosemont, and whatever was there, they cultivated. And it wasn't a stigma. It was actually fun. You know, but as generations changed, then it became a stigma. And it was something that was shameful to do.
And that's an excellent point. I hadn't thought about the stigma because I didn't suffer that because of my grandparents. But the more I researched urban farming, and a lot of folks mentioned that, it made sense to me. I hadn't even thought about those connections prior to doing a little bit more research. But yeah. And then you start asking people. I mean, I would never ask the question because I didn't think it was an actual feeling. And then you ask it and you're like, oh, it's a lot of us that feel that way. And I just never.
See, that's the smart part about it, is because it's depending on where you are in time, you don't think that you would have to ask that.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like it's been
I was on the
shoved under
cusp.
the
I
rug
still
and-
got those,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. It's still touchy.
Yeah.
I'm Betsy Champ, and I came in from Corcoran tonight. Because I'm the new farmers market coordinator there, we have a new farmers market.
In Corcoran?
Yeah, just started. And you know, one of the things that they have in the plan for the next 5 years is a garden. And I wanted to come and see if this would be something we could tie in, and it has opened my eyes.
Well, we're glad to have
There's
you.
nothing like having bees in your garden and dirt under your fingernails. And yeah, the stigma is not just Black, because I grew up in Layton on a farm, and you couldn't wait to get off the farm. And I raised animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when I got a place that I could put a garden, I did it for a year, and then I had to go to work.
Yeah. It happened. Well, we're glad to have you here. And before you leave, we'll show you our garden in the back.
My name is Maria Ellis, and I participate, me and my kids, with the Freedon School, help with some of the activities. I gravitated, well, I grew up in Southwest Fresno, so, and I work in Southwest Fresno, so I still have just a love for the community. I don't care about all the problems that they have. I still have hope in them. I haven't given up, and I won't. But like the film said, you know, we don't have to finish everything, but we do have a responsibility to start. So I always heard about, well, people move, you want to move out, you want to move away, get out of Fresno, and I have never wanted to leave Fresno. I don't know why, but I've never wanted to leave. Do I want to get vacations and get away sometimes? Yes, but never want to move anywhere else. And what drew me to Freedom School is I thought it was really interesting, a really interesting concept to teach other kind of skills, like math and science through agriculture. So I would always say when we first started, I'm a city girl, you know, I don't really know about farming, but I've learned quite a bit in the 2 years that I've been working with the Freedom School. My kids have learned a lot, but probably the biggest thing is the culture. It's something about getting out there together and planting and preparing and harvesting and making food from what we've harvested and serving it, and people like really liking it, and like, hey, can I buy some of this, you know. The kids got to do a student-led farmers market where, you know, they see money that's made. They probably got as much in tips as they did in the produce that was sold that day. So in the self-confidence, they all have gained a greater sense of self-confidence, a positive self-image, and they've created just their own little team, their own little family there. You know, we're from different parts of Fresno, but they come together, and you would think they all live under the same household. They get along, they fight a little bit, you know, but they work together. And we haven't had one kid that didn't get out there and do something. You know, they don't complain. They may need a break, but they like to get out there, and they like what they learn, and I enjoy that. And they look forward to going. If we don't have Freedom School for a couple of weeks, I get text messages, I get phone calls. When is Freedom School? When are we doing the next activity? What are we gonna do? My kids are like, hey, what's going on with Freedom School? So I've enjoyed it, and I just wanted to grow and be what we know it can be.
No problem.
My name is Layla, and I'm a Freedom School student.
That's good. That's good.
10.
You still doing tours out at the farm? All right.
She's teaching a little bitty ones now.
Of course.
Say your name, right?
It's okay.
I'm Kiora. I'm a Freedom School student, and I'm 12 years old.
Glad to have you back. All of you.
My name is Rachel Gomez. I actually grew up pretty much half of my life at my grandmother's house on the west side. And she had rows of her own vegetables. She had a chicken coop. I really grew up out there. I learned how to kill my own chickens. And like you said, unfortunately they put a restriction on her, so she had to end up killing all the chickens in her coop because a neighbor who complained said it was just, she kept the cleanest pen on the planet, but someone on the backside of her who bought land so that he could, of course, build houses, complained on her, so she lost all of her chickens, and that devastated her because we basically ate farm to table, so whatever's in the backyard, what was ever in season is what we ate. I actually love the smell of dirt. On my other side of my family, who was Hispanic, I grew up running the grape fields up and down with my aunts at 4 a.m. So I grew up around just naturally just loving food that was in season and from our valley. My father has trees in his backyard, so he has like a peach tree that came from my grandmother's house in his backyard. And my dad lives out here off of Huntington Boulevard. But he has a whole little self-contained garden. He actually gives the food to the community. He has to work with his baby sometimes, and outlaws for the community to pick it because he doesn't have the food to go to waste.
Yeah.
And so it was very nice of my dad when I was younger. He actually let me plant a little garden in his back area because he's like, no, I don't know if this is gonna work. I don't know if my dirt's ready for that. But he actually allowed me to do that, and it's something that to this day I honor the farming trends. I support all local farmers, whether they be Hispanic or African American. There's actually a lady on the west side who sells fruit and vegetables, so we go there sometimes with some of the kids that I work with downtown Fresno. Unified, tell them to go out there and help support the community because it is very important. And I think that just growing up, being able to have an appreciation for my grandmother, who lives to be 103, and all she did was, this beautiful woman gardens every day around until she hurt her hip and she couldn't do it anymore, so we did it for her. But it was just being able to honor that she went back in Arkansas and she brought it here to all of us, and I loved it. I don't see myself being anywhere else but one day, like my dad's buying a farm and giving back to the community that he loves so much because my father has faced a lot of the same injustices that have happened for many, many years here in Fresno. So I think that it brings him pride and joy that he can open his fence and have people from all walks of life just come in and just, give them what they need. And sometimes it's an exchange. So it's kind of a loving thing because I'm like, oh, this man's over here trading out services for some lemons off of his tree.
Yeah.
But it brings him, literally it does, it brings him joy every single time he does it. So the little 7 or 8 trees he has in his backyard just mean the world to him. So I think that that's pretty awesome. And it's not done on the west side. It's actually, it's like I can't, my great-grandma's house actually suffered a fire, so we're trying to get her dirt. Her rows are still there. And that she coop stays in the back and I'm clean it out, which is like the whole thing for her. But I felt very sad when that happened to her because you could tell it broke her heart. She had 20 chicks and roosters in there, and that day happened. We had to go out there and we had to just kill them all. And she was hurt. She's like, how am I going to eat? This is how I know to eat this. I grow my own food. And So I really do miss that because she just taught us about the land as they lived with my grandmothers. So I think it's very important to bring that aspect back to Fresno, and especially to West Fresno, where the disparity is happening a lot, where they're taking out certain food stores. And I look at the food stand of the man with the truck going down the street to the west side. Yeah, Napoleon. Oh my God, Napoleon. My great grandmother would be so happy when he would come down the street. She lived on Sampson, so I spent the majority of my life just being appreciative of what I was taught when I was younger. And so it was very neat to grow up in a dual cultural household. My mother's Hispanic and my father's African American, so it was just so nice to watch it because we just definitely honored the land and how we were raised. So I still remember this whole highlights. So I miss it. So there's nothing, and that's why we just miss that. There's really nothing like taking your shoes off and just getting out there, having your shoes on, and then knowing everything details and everything that you put in the ground is coming to fruition and showing most people. Because then we had Sunday dinners in our family. We could not miss a Sunday dinner at all, and it was all stuff that was grown in this backyard. So
my name is Brianna. I recently graduated from college, and I went to college in New York, and I'm from Fresno, I grew up for the past 8 years. I lived downtown. So yeah, I went to Columbia, and while I was there, it's like a very nice, rich institution, and when I was there, I couldn't afford a meal plan after my freshman year. And that was really, I think, difficult because like 97% of the kids at school are on meal plans, so I had to learn to kind of negotiate grocery stores and creating a schedule so I could cook myself and those type of things. And the most affordable grocery store was a mile away in New York City. So like everything is in New York. There was 2 grocery stores I could easily walk to, but I couldn't afford to go there regularly. And the one I actually went to get like organic food was 3 miles away. So like being in that type of relationship as like a young girl, trying to learn a lot of things about being an adult all at once. And so I'm back home, that type of mentality where I hear a lot of people questioning why I'm here. Because to think that I would come back here is like a really big surprise, even for my own family. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I'm hoping, kind of assisting Gloria in getting to know the programming that's going on here. I'm really excited to hear about film school, getting involved and kind of learn how to use things that I learned at school and how to kind of redistribute resources back here to Fresno. I think for me as a main way to do that is because I had such a hard time at school being able to eat, like just eat in general. Like at one point my school was like, okay, we'll figure meal plan, it was still like $500 or something like that a semester, but I got 5 meals for a week. Like that was it. I could go to the dining hall 5 times a week, so I just had to like go there in the morning and sit there all day. So those type of things. So just thinking about that, and like even in the richest of places, there are people who still can't afford. So thinking about that, just really excited to get involved, and just kind of relearning past traditions. This is my mom. So just kind of relearning past traditions. Like when I was growing up, everything was home cooked, but even when I went to college, she didn't get cookbook, and like a lot of the stuff on there was canned or like pre-made meat and stuff like that. So just learning like how to make things from scratch is something that I'm like, how did that become a ritual in my family without us even recognizing it? Type of mentality. I made that rice I made yesterday was with fresh tomato. I don't know if you knew that. You ate it.
She's actually an amazing. She actually is a good cook. So.
And sidebar, I'm having Brianna shadow me today because it is my hope to have her be a proxy because I'm not able to be at Freedon School very often. Because she also has a background in anthropology, so we thought we could talk with you all later and help alleviate some of the areas where you're not able to, fit, your schedules in, because she's very smart and very open to learning. So that is why I asked her here today.
Okay, hi, I'm Eileen Reed, and I'm a volunteer staff person with Fresno Freedom School, and I've been with the school about 2 years. This is my great niece Amari, who who's very shy, and she says she wants to hide under the table if she has to talk.
Oh, we won't make you do
So
that.
she's 7, and she's been with the Freedom School for about a year. And the first time she went to the school, she cried when she had to leave. That was her big claim to fame because she had such a good time. But what I'm hearing, I grew up in Southwest Fresno, and when I was a girl, Church Avenue was the county line. So you know how far back this is going. And when my parents, my mom and dad are from rural Texas, and so my dad raised chickens, and he had a real growing hand, so we always had Thompson grapes, we had walnuts, we had lemons, we had oranges, and my mom didn't have a growing hand, but she's a great cook. So one thing about country people is that they know how to cook good, fresh food. And I think that culturally, this is one thing that can build a bridge for all ethnicities in the Central Valley, is food and getting to know and appreciate each other's food culture. And so with Brianna being an anthropologist, and we have another anthropologist who works with us as well, Dr. Saxton from Fresno State, this is very important historically. And I think this is part of the cultural and psychic healing for Black people with the whole slave narratives. When I asked my mom and dad if I could go take grapes with my friends in middle school, my mom went off. Your dad and me didn't plant any grapes. You're not going to be cut. Go in the backyard and cut some grapes. I mean, this whole thing where it was just like, no, because she had done farm labor. My maternal grandparents were tenant farmers, and they worked shares. They called it third and fourth, which means that they had all their own. They owned all their own tools and implements and their own animals, but they did not own the land. But after a lot of years of hard work, my grandparents did buy their farm, and they still have 20 acres in Texas on my mom's side. So we're very proud of that. We plan to keep it in the family. But I'm more proud of Freedom School and all that it does about the self-esteem that it builds in our students. Amari is in an immersion program at Sunset, and so she is learning Spanish from the ground up. And I think that's very important for that cross-cultural pollination, as I call it. But more important, if you come to Freedom School, you will always feel welcome, no matter what your ethnicity. And I think I'm safe to say that everybody who's come to Freedom School will agree with me on that. So anyway, sorry for talking so long. No, Amari, do you want to say anything? Okay, I guess that means no.
My name is Brian McCorby. I am 15 years of age, and I have been a fellow Freedom School student for 2 to 3 months. And when I was younger, I always had this thing about me. I always wanted to work. And so when I heard of the Freedom School, I was like, oh man, I want to go. When I first went, I had fun. I had a lot of fun. I want to continue to have fun. And I'm from Fresno, California, and been moving around from one side of town to another side of town, and I've been on the west side of town for, say, a couple years. And yeah, when I get older, I just find a job, a place, and continue from there.
What high school did you go to, by the way?
Fulton High School.
Where?
Fulton High School.
Fulton High School? I don't know where. It's in Fresno.
Is it downtown?
It's
the one off of
Shields in Melbourne?
Yes.
No, that's too far. I thought they had me a new volunteer to help me over here. That's too far though. Alright. Thank you for being with us today. And with that, I would like to turn over the remaining hour of the workshop to, I don't know if staff will do a presentation, or students, however you'd like to do that, but we'll turn it over to Maria. We can have a little break. You guys can grab more snacks if you like, and if you have to use the bathroom, if you just go through this entryway here, turn to your left, that's where it's at. And thank you. Oh, there's one other thing that I wanted to introduce you to, actually working with Dr. Saxon now too, and she's going to be some I'll get one. shy all of a sudden. You need this, right? Eat that. But did you see how I did this? No. No? You actually not work. Oh, no. Oh, so I just need to plug it back in. Because our school is like we
The hottest summer that I feel in my life.
Oh, you have to leave? Oh, sorry. Okay, yes, let me, I can grab my keys right now since everyone's on break. Grab for you if that works. There you are, my friend. I'm gonna step outside and get something. And then you want the sandbag?
We'll let him start. We're pushing him up first. So, Rhea, you gonna talk first? Then Maria and the kids gonna take it?
I don't need to talk. Y'all
Yes, you
do all of that.
Yes, you do.
Maria,
You're a leader.
you can do all that talking.
No, she said you up first. History.
Oh, Lord.
Get off that whip.
Somebody got a hold of this. So you're in Cortland. Wow. So, if I'm correct, Cortland had his first black city council person, woman, right?
I'm gonna say no.
Where is Cortland at?
And you're right, we do have Pat Nolan, she's a love. But no, Fresno had Cynthia Sterling.
No, I'm saying Cortland had his first black. Right.
Yeah?
Yeah. I haven't met her. But I'm an international civil rights leader also, so I do a lot of and I pastor a church and all this other stuff.
It's like, which hat do I wear today?
I know. All of our little babies, but yeah. So you're the manager of the farmers market.
Coordinator of the market.
What's the difference between a coordinator and a manager, or is it the same, or not the same, or
It's the same.
it's the same? Okay.
It depends probably on how they run it through their books.
Okay.
They contract with me to find vendors.
Oh. I have to get your contact information and send you there were like 3 documentaries made of our school last year. And like this year, the Black Eyed Pea dip is their experiment, and then they're doing a okra French fry. And then we do watermelon jelly. And we did relish that you put on a hot dog. So the relish took first place in the fair.
Sure.
The Fresno fair. The watermelon took third. Thank you.
That's an organization I volunteer.
Okay. And then we have a sewing class. It took first place in potholders. So, you know, we kids are learning a lot. We put 13 kids in black colleges through our school, teaching them, and we follow them out from that all the way to what they are now. We advocate for them in high school, We there if there's an issue with teachers, principals. Their behaviors are great. My son is in Future Farmers of America. He grew a baby chick to a full chick and took first place at the fair. So it's just so many things they have done. I mean, it's just like, which one do you say? The little baby here, she was at Fresno State. The one on the end, out of 40 kids, she won first place in building websites. I mean, it's just, they do so much. I try to keep up with it all, but it's like, but the staff, they're just phenomenal. Our board members and
Talent will grow where it is encouraged. That's all I'm gonna say.
right.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons they decided to have a marketing department, because we've got a few really pretty good grocery stores, but we don't have anything local fresh. It's all through the wholesaler, so most of it is not even California produce.
It's shipped in.
That makes sense.
It's shipped in.
It's an economic thing.
Right.
And this is Black Eyed Pea.
Black Eyed Pea did.
Man.
And actually they made two different ones. I don't know where the other one is, but they made two different dips. So what we're trying to do is so like we're getting ready for our winter crop now. So we're gonna do
let me guess, you're gonna do some of your hard squash because they have to stay over the winter. They have to survive the winter.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, we're gonna do broccoli, kale, Swiss chard, onions, collards, mustards this year. And yeah. So next year we'll do sweet potatoes. But we're gonna grow like 4 or 5, maybe 10 acres of those. Because we have a vendor that wants to purchase them. And the whole thing is really teaching, but also teaching them about economics. And how to, I teach them how to drive tractors and how to, water, irrigate, all that stuff.
So we can go to that field trip. Okay. Let me give you one of mine.
Yeah.
You already know all my business. I don't even have to get you.
We wouldn't be who we are if it hadn't been for her.
Oh no, that's
I just
completely
tell her
not accurate.
She's like, I don't even know. She's an angel.
It's an organization I volunteer with. We made blankets for children in need.
We have a sewing group here. Every Tuesday, it's older ladies, but they don't have people that give their. They're here all the time, so we're always looking for organizations that can give what they.
Blankets and quilts, yeah.
We need to talk. They're here because they're Tuesday for 2 hours.
And there's
it's
some
therapy
other stuff
for
that
them.
you've talked about too. It's like, I really just wish I could transport you there.
Oh, I'll take a field trip to Corcoran. I used to go there for Thanksgiving all the time. I was friends with the Neal family and the Oliver family for years, but all the grandparents have passed away, and everybody goes where they go. So.
When the grandparents pass, the family goes.
That's how my family's been, on both sides too. So it just feels empty all the time. I don't get those fruits and vegetables on my porch no more. My grandpa used to every Saturday. We all call each other up. What grandpa leave you? Well, I don't know. What did he leave you? And one of my brothers tries. He's not a farmer. He'll just go to the store and buy stuff. He tries to give the grandpa vibe to all of us, so we feel, we're like, but it's different. It's like, what did Keith want? It's not the same. Oh, we'll get started. Are you ready?
Hey, doctor, how you doing? My arm is in a lot of pain right now. I think I ripped some ligaments or something in here. And seems like every day it's getting worse and worse.
You went to the doctor? Check it out?
I'm gonna have to go this weekend because this.
And of course, I didn't bring any of my essential oils with me tonight. Traveling light.
One light? How about that?
I was thinking about those bands like you put on your knee or something. Or like you put on your elbow.
Put some ointment on it.
That way you don't go up. No, our lights aren't that good.
It's really painful.
You know,
Hey, just ask the phone.
Is this okay?
Go to the ask the phone.
Okay. How y'all come out at Fresno State?
By show of hands, how many people want? How many
I need your son to be
presenters
with me.
want the lights?
Whoop.
By show of hands.
Whoop.
I know it's tough, but this stuff is so important.
By show of
Rhonda
hands,
was there too,
how many
giving
presenters
information
want the lights?
about the tour.
And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So we're gonna start our second part
Is that
of
the
the
college
presentation.
tour?
So if everyone wouldn't mind taking their
Yeah,
seats.
Rhonda, yeah, but they was doing more than that. It's called Welcome Black.
And to break one.
I'll talk to you.
Okay.
And your presenters have requested that all lights go off, so there you go.
She went to Africa in the same school my daughter went to.
Oh, yeah?
When she left, my daughter left, she came.
Did you connect?
She's from LA, but she's here now.
I gotta turn the lights back on to see how to turn it back on.
How your daughter doing? She all right?
She'll be back here in 3 weeks, but she's gonna work out of Bakersfield. Bakersfield gets
Oh, I
a
think
real
we
good
can
offer.
use this.
Okay. The USDA?
Throughout the United States, Bakersfield goes to bed. And they got to promote her fast.
That's good.
She about within a year or two, she has positions that she wants. Other than just take my time.
That's why
Because Bakersfield is #1 in the world.
It's a good drive. I love
And
it.
now,
And I'm sure they don't have no black folks down there.
Nope.
It's not fair down today. And I used to make this trip at least once a week.
They'd be like,
You don't mind getting a light for them? When it,
Have you heard from the people in Sacramento, the lady?
behind that light?
Yeah.
To get more produce vendors.
How come she didn't return my call?
I think they want both of
I
us.
forgot to ask you. I forgot to ask you.
Are you good? Yes, if you wouldn't mind turning the lights off for us.
But she did tell me she couldn't do it. And she got all the folks to do it. But, and then, but we'll make sure we help you about it.
Okay.
Okay, can I have all the Freedom School students come up front here? Yeah, I'm sure. We can have half on this side and half on this side. So everybody can still see the screen.
You sure you don't want half the lights, y'all?
Yeah,
You look so good.
Because we would really like to see you.
That's what I'm trying to get at. That's what I'm trying
There's
to get
something you're going to tell us and we want to be able to see. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Would you mind turning one of those lights on for us, sir? So helpful. You're so helpful. Thank you. Look at all that.
Okay, so we're gonna start with Reverend Dr. Floyd Harris to tell us a little bit about Freedom School Foundation's history. And then we'll have the kids go ahead and take over from there. Slash producers.
I was gonna say.
Slash photographer.
You got an assistant everything over here.
These are our future leaders here. All of them.
right under the table. But before I get started, can all of our board members stand up, please? From the Fresno Freedom School. Can we give them a round of applause? I know they were doing modest earlier, but they give your title. So can you give your title if you don't mind?
Board president.
Link mine.
Vice President.
Board member.
I'm Roger Brown, the treasurer for Freedom School.
I'm Eileen Reed, chairperson, Freedom School. Oh, I'm sorry, Eileen Reed, chairperson, Freedom School.
And this one here.
The board
Stand
secretary.
up, stand up.
Secretary
Board
slash.
These folks are the engine of the Freedom School. You ever see a train, you see the conductor driving, but there's a big engine in the back that's pushing. And so, you know, they are to be commended for all the work and dedication that they do and putting up with me. And you know, sometimes it's like, oh, no, not again. We got to be at 6 o'clock in the morning. No. But it's just an honor to be before you today. And thank you for you. Can we give her a round of applause? Angel to us, man. Had not been for Warrior, we wouldn't really be where we are today. I just really want to thank you publicly, your director, center, for all you do, prayers, support, everything, and putting up with me. You keep hearing us snickle here, okay? But really, it's just a lesson that you all believe in us. You know? To have someone believe in you, trust you, that you say you're going to do what you're going to do and deliver, that means a lot to me. And the boy know that we go way back. And she know I will protect her no matter what, who it is. And so we just have that friendship. If you want, my grandmother, who was 85 now, who has Alzheimer's, I blame her for me being who I am today. As you spoke earlier about chickens, we had chickens. We didn't have sidewalks, we didn't have street lights, we didn't have garbage. You have to dig a hole in the garbage in the back and burn it and put dirt over it. And so grandma taught me how to feed chickens, how to kill them, how to make dumplings, you know, best fried chicken as soon as you kill it. And so that's how I was raised. And then she taught me how to farm. She taught me how to backyard garden, you know, green collards, onions, things like that. So as I grew older, I became a contractor. And I started getting all this equipment and different things. And I said, well, you know, instead of just plowing fields, let's make, you know, teach folks how to use the plow. You seen earlier in that picture, you seen the black man behind the horse. He was making a road. Well, we don't do that anymore. We have tractors that do that now. But black folks, we did that as well as the Native Americans. You know, we lived off the land. And I have a lot of respect for the Native Americans because to me, they're, like I say, the only people, but who I work with closely understands how to live off the land. Who knows where Centerville is? Centerville was the first one, was where black folks settled when they came from the South. That was a black town. Many people don't know that. Allensworth, Taviston, all those towns going towards Bakersfield were all black towns at one time. Now they're highly populated Latino. Allensworth is now a state park. I just have this vision that the Freedom School should be able to go back, we should be able to turn that into a town like it's supposed to be, not a park, but an actual town where we can live, grow produce. But these babies right here, I call them babies, they put in time, they put in work, they put in sweat equity, they're doing journals, they're measuring, they're cooking, they're baking, they're making, you know, sister here is giggling. She's the tour guide. You come out there, she gives you a tour of everything. And now, what is she doing? She's teaching the next generation how to do the tour. because one day she's going to graduate and go to college. And so we're passing down that knowledge and experience to the next generation, right? As I tell them that, you know, one day I'm going to pass the Freedom School to one of them or someone. You know, we have to make our replacements. We have to be, what is it, or we have to be intentional, right, to make replacements after us, so that one day we're going to become a senior. And we want to make sure that these young people are going to take care of us, right? And that's very important. These young people grew bell peppers, eggplants. The eggplant pizza is something that they made. They grew corn, yellow corn, white corn, watermelons, honeydews, cantaloupes, okra, purple tomatoes, red tomatoes, green tomatoes, kale, pumpkins, squash, zucchini, all that in a area about the size of this here, right? And it was just tons of food, tons of food. 3 documentaries were made by the board and her organization of the Freedom School. And all of our board members had an opportunity to speak on those documentaries to talk about all the, yes, ma'am.
One thing we don't usually talk about that we had last year were the purple peas.
Purple peas. I forgot about the purple peas. So in the South, purple peas is a big in the Black community. So we had purple peas, black-eyed peas, and yellow peas, Fresno chili peppers, bell peppers, and I mean, the list just goes on to talk about how they taught the children how to make watermelon jelly. They took 3rd place in the fair house. Sister Eileen taught the children how to do a sewing class to make potholes, African American potholes. They took 1st place in the fair. We talked about my son who's in Future Farmers America, who a baby chick to a full chicken. It took 1st place at the Fresno Fair. And now they're working on a black-eyed pea dip and okra French fries now. So Freedom School is in the house. We mean business. I love all of them. I love their parents and all the support. Lupe, all of y'all. You know, it's just when we on Facebook and you like, I'm always posting something. They laughing. They told me to stop taking pictures. But I think that, you know, as I was talking to Brother Roger as I close, the most important piece for me, I just turned 48, that it's not about me. It's about them. It's about us creating an opportunity and a pathway for them to be successful. Now, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. All I can do is try to lead them and hope and pray that they make the best decision that they can make. As my sister here said, she went to college, but she came back home. A lot of people can't believe that. Brother Roger just told me his daughter has been all over the world. She's going to be working in Bakersfield, USDA. Okay, these children are walking across. They come through the Freedom School. You get them into college through Brother Roger organization, and then they get their degrees. And when they walk across that stage, there's a guaranteed job for them, $100,000 or more, and that's success. And then those young people, they come back and they mentor these young people here, you know. And it's just. I can't even say all what we do, but it's just you have to come. As Eileen or Mark, somebody said, you get the Freedom School fever or something. And it's like you don't want to go, you don't want to leave, you know. And Brother Gary, I mean, he throws down the consciousness of the history of, you know, racism, of what Black people went through. And it's so inspiring to have so many good people around, you know. And so these are the engines of the Freedom School. And thank y'all, and I hope and pray that my prayers to get 100 acres for the Freedom School. I'm going to work my darndest to get this 100 acres. As you've seen that sister up there talk about how they're building houses, that's what we want to do, so that we can be able to house our people, teach our people, feed our people all over the world, getting trucks pushing diesels across the country with food to our communities that don't have access to food. sister said 2A fruits came. I remember that little thing that was on California, they tore it down. You walked in, the roof was leaking and all that.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember that.
You remember that? It was a hazard.
But it had some of the best.
But it had the best food.
Or you would wait for Napoleon to drive that truck down.
Then if they closed, wait for Napoleon to come. Right? So we need to get a Freedom School Napoleon truck. Go around. But anyway, thank y'all.
Like that.
That's all I'm concerned about. Come on now.
If we can, real quick, before we go into our presentation, can we just do a unity clap real quick? We start out slow.
Okay, so we got an introduction from Reverend Harris about what we do, the passion that we put into this, and I'm just gonna have the students show some photos and have them talk about what's going on in the photo, because these are the things that they do to get the farm prepared. So, Yami, we'll start with how we get the land prepared for planting.
All right, so first we have our old trusty old tractor.
Give them the lights or something at the front or something so we can see it from here.
Maybe that. The other lights with lights.
Yeah. My vision already bad.
Let's turn the other one on. Yeah, it's a little, yeah, that.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's like a 4K TV.
Thank you, sir.
Alright, so anyway, first we have our trusty old tractor. Then we just pull it across the land. Then kind of like prepares the dirt. And then kind of water down the dirt to make it softer, easier to handle, you know? Then we finally make rows of the dirt. So then, once we have our rows of dirt, then we can start this.
Layla?
Okay, so the first thing you want to do is dig your irrigation line and poke a hole in it with this thing that goes with it. It's sharp too. And then you connect it together and then it waters down the road for you so that you won't have to do all that work going through each row, watering it down and getting muddy.
Oh no, that's thick. I'm sorry.
Okay, then after the dirt is prepared and soft enough and the T-tape is lined down, we get the mulching film and we put the mulching film over the T-tape and we will cut holes in it, and when the holes that are cut, we will put the plant inside. And the reason why we use the mulching film is that when the plant grows, weeds grow. The weeds will grow underneath the mulching film, so we won't have to keep pulling and picking and having the weeds all over the place. So that's the reason why we use the mulching film.
So the T-tape or the film, you talking about, does that kill the weeds or does it suffocate them or how?
It kills the heat. Planting cure.
Wait. So when you plant the seeds, so you just poke like a hole and then dig out the dirt, and then you just have to carefully grab the plant and put it in, and then fill it back up, and then we would water it after we're done like filling in the rows with plants.
So this year we did a special project research. Some students from the UC Davis extension came out and planted a few different varieties of black-eyed peas. So one strain that they tested is an African strain of black-eyed peas, and black-eyed peas originate in Africa also. so the strain that from Africa is supposed to be pest resistant and resist aphids. For some reason, aphids really like black-eyed peas, it's one of their preferred vegetables. And we struggled with aphids last year. They took over the garden. We had to get organicide and spray the organicide to get control of it. And so our ladybugs could come in and do their thing as far as helping with the pest control. And the kids really didn't want to touch the black-eyed peas after the aphids that got on them, even though other people were like, hey, I don't care, I'll just wash those off, and still cook them. So this year they did an experiment, and so they experimented with the African variety of black-eyed pea, which is supposed to ward off pests. So can I have someone just talk about what you saw with the African black-eyed peas compared to the American version of American strain of black-eyed peas?
Well, the black-eyed peas we had last year, it looked like the aphids were the color of it. That's how colored they were, and it was disgusting. You couldn't even walk down the rows. I didn't want to walk down the rows because they would get up there, they call it like that. But and then this year we had a few of them. The first 2 rows were covered in them, not really covered like last year. And then the third one, it was completely fine. It was just a few of them.
Okay, anybody else want to talk about the African black-eyed peas that were grown? So they observed, and one of the things they saw, they put the African variety of black-eyed pea also on the American variety of the black-eyed peas, and the aphids got all over the American variety and did not touch the African variety of black-eyed pea, even though they were side by side. And so they separated them by just a little sign that showed where the African strain started and where the American strain was. So they are going to actually take the African strain of the black-eyed pea and plant it on a massive scale. So the students were actually a part of a research that will introduce a strain that will be pest resistant and get more produce out of that.
Is there a taste difference?
That's what we'll find out. So they did a few things. They were taught a few things to try and get the pests down on the ones that were not pest resistant. So does someone want to talk about the bug spray that we made and the ingredients that went into it?
So when the lady from Fresno State came over, she brought a gallon of water, and then she put baking soda in, and then she put olive oil or vegetable oil and some dish soap. And so then she kind of shook it up, and then we poured it in a spraying bottle, and then we sprayed the plants, the black-eyed peas, with it, and then we just let it dry out and then see what happens.
So no organic or any other pesticide was applied to the African strain of the black-eyed peas, and because we wanted to know that it needed nothing to keep it from getting the aphids or white flies to attack it. So they learned how to make organic bug spray.
What did you say the ladybugs do?
Well, the ladybugs eat the aphids. They're really effective with it. But the thing with the tricky thing with the ladybugs were they if you try and go out and buy them, most of them fly away. So next year we're gonna experiment. Reverend Harris was like, what if we release the ladybugs and put a net over it so it still can get air, sunlight, and so forth, and maybe they'll stay. So we'll try that next year to see how that works. But once the aphids once we kind of got rid of the aphids continuing to infest the black-eyed peas last year, it's like the ladybugs just start coming out of nowhere and they just start covering the
now they
road.
wanna be there.
Yeah, then they want to be there. So we didn't have any problems from that point on. Once the ladybugs got in, we had no problems with any of the watermelons. They grew another set, the black eyed peas, the ones that grew after the aphid infested ones, they looked a lot better. So I really like the natural, but it's just how do you make a ladybug stay? You can't like train them to stay. And we found out that the ants carry the aphids to the plants.
Wow.
Yes, so the ants follow like the irrigation line because they want the water, and so they carry the aphids to the plants. So now next year we're gonna try to get rid of the ants because we had like a million ants this year, and see how that works.
So just so I can add to Maria, the plants, find the right word, is the plants need us and we need the plant. So it's a relationship building between us and the plants. Now, I go out every morning, I talk to the plants because it's life, right? Now, some people may think that's stupid, crazy, or you need to go to the crazy house here. But what we have to understand is that that plant is producing something to help us live healthy. So we have to take care of it, right? And it needs us because when the ants come, it's saying, I need help because I'm just a sitting duck here. It's going to come and bring those aphids on me. Now, what are you guys going to do? Now, if you don't do anything, we're just going to eat us to death and we're going to die, right? So that's where the children come in with the, what do you call the soap stuff? The bugs, Ganicide. So farming is an everyday occurrence. It's like you always, the leaves will tell you what's going on. I'm not getting enough water, or too many bugs on me, or something's going on here. So that's what the children learn. Just look at the leaves. It'll tell you something's going on here, right? Just like us as humans. You know, if your nose running, there's something going on.
So before we talk about what we made with the black eyed peas, we also worked with okra because what we wanted to explore this year was superfoods. So we talked about health benefits of watermelon. We talked about some of the health benefits of okra. You know, okra can heal like 70% of breast cancer cells. It lowers blood sugar for diabetics, and the leaves are antidepressant. So, and that's stronger than a prescription antidepressant. And those are okra leaves that does that. And so, we kind of concentrated on the black eyed peas because it was part of research. And I want Diami and Kanyel to talk a little bit about what we made okra fries this year. We tried to do a play on popular foods like the eggplant pizza, okra fries. We were going to do okra chips and black eyed pea dip, but we kind of had some problems with getting the okra the right consistency without burning it up. So we just made okra fries. So can you guys, Diami and Kanyel, talk a little bit about what you did with the okra? How did you prep it and how did you make it?
So for the black eyed peas,
The okra fries. Okra fries.
Oh, okay. Okay, so in order to make the okra fries, first have to just get a bag of okra or a container of okra and just wash it off. And then once you're done washing it off, grab your cutting board and just slice them in half. So you don't just slice it in half like this. You kind of have to slice it like this. So it requires a little bit more precision. So you just gotta be careful in case of your fingers getting cut or something. And then once you're done with them being sliced, you just toss them in a separate container. And then from there you have to season a little bit and then place it in the oven. I think either upside down or any position.
Both ways.
Or just try them both ways, you know, and then you place them in the oven and then take them out once you're done cooking. try them, see if you like it.
And we would have did the okra fries, but it's not really easy to find fresh okra unless we grow it. And ours in the garden wasn't ready for that just yet. And also the time that it would take to cook it. So,
I have a question for you. Did you have to take the seeds out?
What?
Do you take the seeds out? Like when you cut it in half, you don't have to take the seeds out at all? No, you leave it.
Not really. But when I was cutting, since I was cutting so hard that some seeds just kind of just like bursted out. It's like, oh, they're everywhere. So sometimes I stay, sometimes I don't.
Okay. And every single student at the Freedom School they really like okra. They cook it like on a regular basis. Ivanka says she has to keep okra in the freezer when it's out of season. And now we're experimenting with different ways. So we baked it. They fried it. We baked it, and they all liked it. It was really good. And so the same day they made we started off with a dip, but then we said, okay, well, let's go ahead and make the hummus. So we'll have Tay and Layla talk about what they had to do to make the black eyed pea hummus.
You want me to go first? Okay. For the black eyed pea hummus, we had to put multiple ingredients inside. Some like well, we used black eyed peas from a can because ours is not ready. And so we used the black eyed pea from the cans. We used some jalapenos. What was that called? No, we didn't. Oh yeah. Yeah. The butter.
Yeah, the tahini.
The tahini butter,
which is a sesame seeds made into a butter.
And then we put a lot more ingredients in it, and then we just blended it in.
We also put olive oil because at first it wasn't like moist enough for it to blend, so we had to put olive oil so it doesn't be so hard and stuff. And it could be more like a dip instead of other stuff.
Okay, so along with that, black eyed pea also being one of the superfoods. They are high in fiber, protein, and calcium, iron, and they also have health benefits for diabetics and lower blood sugar. One thing that we found out is that is from Du Bois, a presentation that one of the cooks did for us, was that in Africa there is hardly any instances of diabetes and high blood pressure. Diabetes and high blood pressure is a illness that we got here in America from the diets that we had to have. That was more plant-based diets in Africa, small amounts of meat, small amounts of dairy. But here in America, it's more meat, less plant-based. So we are trying to make the plant-based diet more friendly for us. Teach the kids that it can be delicious and nutritious. That's why we involve them in making the recipes and tasting and saying, okay, no, it needs more of this. No, it needs less of that. No, this is not good. We tried the eggplant pizza 2 different ways. We tried it grilled, and then we breaded it and did a pan fry in some olive oil. And they liked the breaded better. The grilled, they thought it was a little too chewy, didn't like the texture. Fresh marinara sauce with tomatoes from the garden that we used on the eggplant pizza, and it was a hit. Everybody liked it. People that had never tried the eggplant, they were like, can I have more? We had little kids coming up to me, can I have another piece of that? Can I have another piece of that pizza? So they're eating eggplant. So we're just trying to do a spin on healthy foods and make it fun. And Dr. Saxon from Fresno State is like our partner with coming up with some things for the kids to do and helping with providing a base for the recipe, and then the kids improve upon the recipe to make it edible for them, something they like. If the kids make it, they taste it and test it and approve it, then other kids will like it, trust me. And most adults like whatever the kids like for some reason, but kids don't often like what adults like. So we put out some of our black-eyed pea hummus, and I don't know if you guys liked it. Anybody taste it?
You sure not to double dip.
And so we tried it with the okra fries. It tasted good with the okra fries, so I didn't get the green ones. But what was surprising, we put all kinds of chips out, but the students like the rice cakes the best to dip in. Yeah, and so that's surprising too. And they said, well, it tastes like popcorn, so.
Wow.
So we will go ahead and just open it up for any questions that you have for the students. They can answer freely. It doesn't have to be about the black-eyed peas. It can be about any of their experiences at the school.
Your director is Christina.
Christina Alea?
Christina's on watching you all right now. She's the director of the center. Can you say hello to her? She said, "Good job, Freedom School."
Literally on the other side of the wall.
Oh, you over here.
What's the average time from planting to harvest? I'll go with the black-eyed peas.
Well, we're not sure. Well, I didn't know because when I found out that the okra is like this big, but ours is like this big, I was really confused. So I think ours just grew a little faster than most of them without using fertilizer. Oh, it took about like 2 or 3 months for all the plants to grow, and then we did ourselves, like the farmers market, sold all the okra and different fruits and vegetables.
And the okra, last year, we just kept growing. Then you just cut it and it just keeps going.
We had a taste off.
So we had more than one
Market
harvest.
farmers market.
We're talking vegetarian soul food, y'all.
One question. Yeah, I just want to congratulate all of these students. Keep up the good work, learn all you can learn. But you're students right now, but you're also teachers. Because today I learned about the African black peas. I never knew that. I mean, I've heard of, black-eyed peas, but I never knew there was African black peas. So again, we all learn from one another, and every day, it doesn't matter how old we are,